Hi everyone. In this video, and fair warning, this may be triggering for some of you. So if the topic of trauma and school violence is triggering, there's nothing on here that you're going to be tested on or otherwise responsible for in your assignments. It's okay not to watch this video if this topic is triggering. I want to say that from the start. You'll be watching this after learning about events that took place today as I recorded this video in St. Louis, Missouri, with a school shooting at Central Visual and Performing Arts High School. We don't currently know the motive of the shooter. As I record this video, it appears to be a mental health issue, but we don't know that as I record it. My purpose for recording this is to talk about your role as a teacher at such times. Hopefully, you'll never in your career experience a day like my colleagues in St. Louis are experiencing. As you know, I was a professor at Harris-Stowe State University, a small HBCU located in Midtown St. Louis. Harris-Stowe State University is located about 6.5 miles away from where this shooting took place. I do know the school very well. I've been to the campus a number of times, and I definitely know K through 12 teachers, including high school teachers, who are deeply affected right now and deeply grieving. Not so much students. I'm not really that close to the students at the high school anymore because it's, as you know, I've been at UA Little Rock since 2019. So, but the point isn't me. The point is your role as a teacher. Hopefully you'll never experience this, but there are various forms of tragedies and various forms of grief that can happen. For instance, I've never been a teacher at high school the day that a shooting takes place, thankfully. I have had friends who have been. For instance, Seminole High School in Sanford, Florida, had a school shooting not that long ago. And I was an English teacher in my past at Seminole High School in Sanford, Florida. As I record this video, by the way, you might notice a little bit different background than my usual videos. I'm visiting my father for a little bit in Florida. That's my background. This is my house in Florida, but in Sanford. But my point here is honor the contract to care with your students. If your students don't know that you care during ordinary good times before there's a tragedy, good luck getting your students to trust you and reach out and open up to you during times of tragedy. During times of tragedy, what you want to do is, first of all, work very closely with mental health professionals and counselors. I definitely recommend taking advantage of professional development to prepare yourself for times like this so that you do feel well equipped to handle an event like this. The closest I've come to an event like this as an actual high school teacher, before I was a university professor, is when I was teaching as a reading teacher and a reading specialist in Orlando, and the body of a student was found nearby that morning before school started. There was news coverage when that happened. Of course, the media was all over the place, and of course the students were grieving. So that's the closest I've come to something like this as a teacher. During times like this, the best you can do is just simply be human Treat your students as human. Treat your students with mutual respect. Honor their needs as well as the needs of the parents. Listen, care, give space for the grieving, and work with fellow professionals. But a very important caveat here is that if the students don't feel like you care before an event like this takes place, it's going to be so much harder for you to get your students to trust you during an event like this when emotions are going to be running high and tender. So when you're doing your ordinary instruction, your day-to-day instruction, yes, you need to have excellent content knowledge. Yes, you need to have excellent skills. For instance, in my content area reading class, you need to know how to teach some literacy skills. Reading and writing is part of the content area and help them develop those skills. You need to have good, strong lesson plans. You need to make sure they're learning their math, social studies, all that stuff that they need to be learning, their science, whatever your subject is. All that is true. Everything you've been learning about, for instance, pedagogical content knowledge, that's true. That's very important. But I have failed you as a professor if I don't also impart to you the importance of care. And that is envisioned in so many little ways. Patience, being firm, fair, and consistent in your classroom management. That doesn't mean that you have to let your students get away with all kinds of nonsense. In fact, an aspect of care is keeping an orderly classroom. If your classroom is complete chaos and disorder, that shows your students that you don't care. High expectations are an aspect of care. But what it does mean, for instance, is when I was in my first year of teaching as a high school teacher, much younger than I am now, I thought that I had to keep a straight face all the time around students, and I thought that I had to be Mr. Dignified. I say Mr. because I didn't have my doctorate yet, but far from it. I only had a bachelor's degree when I was in my first year of teaching, and I didn't know half the things that I know now. I didn't know a quarter of the things that I know now that would have made me a better teacher. But one mistake I made is when students were passing me in the hallway and they would say or wave hi to me and say my name, hi Dr. or hi Mr. Kearns. I would keep a straight face. I might nod and I would acknowledge them, but I would keep a very straight, dignified face. Until one time, students in a well-meaning manner, they weren't meaning to be rude because they actually kind of liked me as a person, I'd like to think, but I took it as well-meaning. They said, don't you realize that you're being kind of rude right now in the way that you're acting? That was a wake-up call to me because I don't want to be rude to my students. So that reminded me, smile at my students. Let my students know that I recognize them and value them as human beings. Give students respect, human dignity. We are all equals as human beings. There may be the teacher-student thing, or in your case, the professor-student thing with my class that you're taking from me. But as human beings, we're equal. And so I need to treat my students with that degree of respect. Same goes for you. In your classes. Your students need to know that you care about their learning, that you care about the expectations, you care about their success. In fact, you care enough about their success to hold them to those high expectations and good behavior. But they also need to know that, as Bell Hooks would say, there's a type of radical love. Radical love means a type of deep sense of purpose, deep sense of care for your profession, for your actions, as well as for the well-being of your students and, for that matter, the community. If that is established and you've got a positive classroom learning environment when things are good, you will be better equipped for handling times when there's a tragedy. Hopefully you never experience that. Take care of yourselves. Be well.